All right. Gemma Olson and all of Written Out Loud. I'm going to record this quick thing about perspective because obviously I'm completely obsessed with this value. So I'm just going to talk directly to Gemma Olson, but this lesson is absolutely for everyone, inside and outside Written Out Loud. It is one of the trickiest pitfalls that I think so many storytellers of all ages find themselves falling into. In a nutshell, one's grasp, one's grip on the perspective through which you tell your story must be ironclad. Why? Because perspective is the perspective of your reader. And if the perspective slides around and slips around, every single time it does so, your reader must reorient themselves and see the story through a different set of eyes. And it can be vague and it can be too frequent, these shifts between perspectives. So I'm going to share Gemma's first chapter, Gemma's prologue. And I do this because Gemma is one of the best storytellers in all of Written Out Loud. So, Gemma, you know, I'm not making an example out of you. I am illustrating just how difficult this task is. So, Gemma, I know what a great storyteller you are. The events are sequenced beautifully, the language is fantastic. Let's just look at this prologue, which is told from the perspective of a judge who is sentencing a young girl who is being convicted of murder, right? So, the judge, as you say in the heading, is the perspective when the story begins. The judge, last day of the trial. He knew he was wrong. We know that we are talking from the third person omniscient. She had done nothing. He's looking at Elizabeth Vickerin, the girl who is about to be sentenced. He was wrong. Yet this young child, so scarred and tortured in all his years of serving as a judge, the perspective is clear. It's still the judge. Now, we're moving through this. He was wrong. Now, she sat in the chair across from the victims' families. She had a look of determination on her face, like she knew what the result was going to be, but refused to admit it. Now, we're still likely from the judge's perspective here, and yet we're starting almost to bleed into her own perspective. Not quite. This is something that the judge can observe. Self-defense, she said? How? How? He was wrong. She murdered them. She was behind it. No doubt on anyone's mind. He was wrong. Now I'm starting to wonder, is this the judge talking about himself being wrong? My Georgie would never do anything to hurt this young murderer. Now you're quoting the perspective of witnesses, the parents of the victims. So now I'm getting a little murky. You can do this from time to time, and yet I'm losing that iron grip on perspective. Greg cared about her. Hayward had been friends with her for a long time. Thomas wouldn't hurt a fly. Now you've got a little pattern there, but again, you are shifting from perspective to perspective. How? How could it be self-defense then? The money. Here we go. The girl looked at them with fiery eyes. She stood up to make her case. Silence. She knew it was hopeless. Hopeless. Are we shifting into the girl's perspective, perhaps? Obviously, our hearts are going out to this girl in our story consuming experience. We're not expecting this girl to be guilty of murder. We're expecting her to be wrongly accused. Bottom line is, I don't think that this perspective, being told from the judge's perspective, is absolutely ironclad. It feels like it's leaking a little bit into Elizabeth's perspective, right? It's the first day of the summer months, right? Now, as of the first day of the summer months, the judge says, the year 265, Elizabeth Tracy Vickerin is hereby found guilty of the murders of 5 young men. The king, the judge, said this with a certain malice in his voice. The money. He was wrong. still a little thrown by the "he was wrong." Is he saying it to himself because he feels guilty? I'm not sure. The money. And then she escaped the day after she was found guilty. He was almost relieved. She would go on to be more powerful than anyone could have imagined. From that day on, she would be known as the Moon Fox. I'm not 100% sure that I'm getting a consistent feeling of that perspective being ironclad from the judge's point of view. Now, when we go back and the book properly begins, we're no longer in italics. We're clearly from Betty's perspective, Elizabeth's perspective, 2 years after the trial. I get it from there. And I relax into Betty's perspective. A dragon cannot fly with strong wings. That line had become a sort of motto for me. And that's obviously deliberate. Now you shift into the first person perspective. But it's when you start kicking into other perspectives who are not Betty's that I feel not only sort of thrown skin jump wise, like I'm confused about whose perspective I'm in, but I'm not necessarily seeing that the storytelling is improved when you go into these perspectives. So I think the general rule here is when you shift perspective, be absolutely sure that you are doing so for the betterment of your story. Don't do it just to do it. If you want to introduce a dynamic new character like Adair or Elias, they can absolutely be dynamic in the same way that when we introduce Hermione and Ron and Draco and Dumbledore, they're incredible characters from the beginning, but we're seeing them through Harry's perspective. They can still be our favorite characters, but we see them through a consistent perspective. I think in your case, and I definitely got this sense when I was talking to the other storytellers yesterday, Gemma, I think your storytelling would be even better than it is, and it's fantastic, if the perspective were ironclad. Certainly within the course of a chapter, a single chapter, keep that perspective tight. Do not waver. Don't drift into the perspective of someone else and their feelings while the storytelling is going on. That perspective, it's almost like you need to get stronger with a certain muscle group in the gym. You want to have an iron grip on your perspective in every single chapter and every single word that you tell. Now, again, don't take this too critically. Your book is so good. We're talking about how to turn some of the A's into A pluses. Great, great work. It's a great lesson for all of you.